Hi and welcome back to a new video. On my table I have a ton of wireless peripherals, and I have to admit I'm kind of biased towards wireless stuff. I'm not a fan of that, but that's just because I still remember this from like 15 years ago and I never really tested this again in like 15 years. Like back then wireless stuff was not great for gaming, you had a ton of input lag and everything, but since we now have 2.4 GHz stuff it should be a lot better. But personally, I never really tested those kind of peripherals. I'm still using a wired mouse, wired keyboard, wired headset and everything. Alright, but on the table today we have the Blackwidow V3 Pro keyboard, we have the Deathadder mouse and we have the Blackshark headset. Going to test all of them when it comes to like wireless function, everything. Alright, let's go. Today's video is supported by Hetzner with the dedicated root server AX41. The experienced data center provider Hetzner offers its hosting products for private and business clients with data centers in Germany and Finland. While offering the most recent and best technical standards, Hetzner also focuses on ecological use of hardware and runs 100% green electricity. The AX41 is a brilliant entrance dedicated root server and comes by default with the 6-core AMD Ryzen 3600 64GB memory and two 512GB NVMe drives. The entire rack design and also the cooling solutions are developed in-house at Hetzner here in Germany, and with 24/7 support, high-speed internet connection, DDoS protection and unlimited traffic. Find more in the link below. We're starting off with the mechanical keyboard Razer Blackwidow V3. As I said before, for me personally it's absolutely something new to work with wireless keyboards. Obviously I used them before, but not for pure gaming. As I also pointed out before, I'm personally not a huge fan because from my experience it always happened that once in a while I was gaming I lost the connection to the device. Could be headset, mouse, keyboard, whatever. I was mid-gaming and then the battery is running out and then you're done. But anyway, I'm very curious to see how good the wireless connection will work out with the 2.4 GHz technology, because I'm very sure that nowadays you will not be able to tell a difference between using a cable connection, as you can do on this keyboard with USB Type-C, or changing over to 2.4 GHz technology using the switch on the side, where you could always also switch to Bluetooth if you wanted to. The first thing we're judging are the visuals of the Blackwidow V3, and that's rather sleek, which I personally really appreciate. And especially if you change from normal RGB illumination to static illumination, it gives it a very elegant look. The keyboard itself is made out of plastic but has a very thick aluminum shell on top, and this provides the keyboard additional stability and very nice haptic. On the top right you have an addition of 4 media caps and a small wheel where you could either adjust volume or also illumination of the keyboard. The Blackwidow V3 also comes with this wrist rest, but I also have to admit that I'm not great at objectively judging wrist rests because personally I just don't like to use them. But at least I can put my wrist on it and tell you that it feels very comfortable. But then I also have to add that you cannot mechanically connect the wrist rest with the keyboard, and that's kind of problematic, at least for me, because I usually have this habit if I'm gaming, then sometimes I'm just adjusting a little bit the position of the keyboard, and at this moment the wrist rest will come loose from the keyboard. So it would be great if there would be like a magnet or some kind of clip that would connect both. The keycaps themselves are made out of ABS. Alternatively, you can switch to PBT. Those additional caps are available in the Razer store. But talking about the price of about 200 euro, I think it would have been fair to have PBT right from the start. But then I also have to add that there are a lot of myths out there when it comes to PBT, because PBT is not always PBT. It always depends on what kind of extras like additives are you adding to the plastic, especially when it comes to like glass fiber and glass balls. People also often talk about that PBT is always resistant to UV light, which is not true. It also depends on what kind of additives you're adding to the plastic. And apart from that, PBT is a very normal plastic. It's used every day, especially in the automotive sector. A lot of plastics that are inside the engine room are often made out of PBT because it's very durable and also resistant towards things from the environment. And that's also why people or the companies tend to use PBT now for the keyboards. And that's also the reason why a lot of people or companies now want to use PBT for keyboards. And I also often read that it's hard to work with PBT and that's why it's more expensive, but that's not really true. This stuff is really just used every single day. The structured surface you often see on the keycaps is not the natural surface you have on plastics, but it's just depending on your injection mold. And yeah, depending on what kind of injection mold you're working with, you will have more structures or less structures. As we're already talking about injection molding, let's talk about the marketing term double shot ABS. Razer is calling this double shot ABS, and in reality this is something which is called multiple component injection molding. And in this very specific process, you're using multiple plastics at the same time or after each other in the injection molding process. And this could be, for example, white or black ABS. And using this technology, you will have the letters and numbers not printed on the keycap, but it will be made out of the keycap. And you will have a lot less wear, or like no wear at all. ABS plastic should also be a little bit more quiet while you're typing, but I'm not really sure if you will be able to tell the difference in reality. We will type on a keyboard in a second, so you will get an idea of how this sounds like. Razer is using the very well-known Razer green switches inside this keyboard, which are not only providing haptical feedback, but also the clicking noise, which you probably all know. And if you don't like this clicking noise, and personally I would count me into this group, you can switch alternatively to the Razer yellow switches, which will not make this noise. Okay, we're doing one quick check so you can get an idea of how the keyboard sounds like. Not sure if the microphone will pick it up correctly, but we will see. Alright, so that was one sentence that I typed, and just subjectively speaking, it feels great. Like the typing, like the haptics and everything is great. At the same time, it's 200 euro, which is quite a lot for a keyboard that doesn't really have anything in addition to a nice feel, like nice keys. You don't get a lot of macro keys, but that's also personal preference. I personally never use any macro keys, so I don't really care about that. But then again, as I said before, 200 euro is actually not that cheap. Fast forward to the gaming mouse, the Deathadder V2 Pro. The Deathadder family has been around for a very long time, and I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with this name. They have been existing for 15 years, and the Deathadder V2 Pro is the most recent evolution of this mouse. I've personally been a big fan of heavier mice for a long time, and that's why I used the M65 from Corsair, or at least I thought that I am a big fan of heavier mice, but that's mainly because I didn't test lighter mice. And now I meanwhile also switched to a lighter gaming mouse, and the V2 Pro definitely counts also as a light gaming mouse with 88 gram. But I have to point out that there are even lighter mice on the market, for example the Endgame Gear XM1 with about 70 gram or the glorious Model O. Razer itself also offers an even lighter mice, the Viper 8K, with about 71 gram. Same as the Blackwidow, the Deathadder can be connected over cable, Bluetooth or 2.5 GHz. The mouse is advertised with a 20,000 dpi sensor and optical switches with only 0.2 milliseconds delay. Apart from the main buttons on top, you also have two additional buttons to adjust the DPI. On the left side you have the typical back and forth buttons. If you flip over the mouse, there is an additional button to switch between profiles, which can be configured and set inside the Razer Chroma software. My gaming experience with the Deathadder V2 Pro was brilliant, and I really like this mouse. It just feels and fits perfect into my hand. A lot of people will have different grips. That's the way I grip my mouse, and just talking about the feeling, it's very accurate, it's very light. I had a very good experience. I played some rounds PUBG with this mouse. Absolutely enjoyed it. What I enjoyed the most, to be honest, is the mouse wheel, because it gives you a very precise feedback and it doesn't move a lot. Because a lot of the mice, they tend to have a wheel which is pressed down quite far, and that's something I don't really like. But I really like how it feels like clicking the mouse wheel on this button, because if I lay down in PUBG, I always use the mid mouse button. That's why I use this button a lot. I know it's a very strange configuration maybe, but I somehow started doing that. The other buttons also feel very good. The main buttons feel a bit cheap from the noise, like from the sound level. It feels a bit cheap, but the feedback you're getting is very precise and very good. Cannot really say anything negative about this product. We're finishing our roundup with the Razer Blackshark V2 Pro headset. As all the other devices, this can be connected wireless over 2.5G. And I want to point out straight that I'm a big fan of the design, because it's just elegant and sleek. It kind of looks like one of those helicopter pilot designs, which I think is quite cool. And it's just black, like no colors, no RGB, nothing, just black. And that's something which I personally like. The foam on the earpieces and also on top is very, very soft and gives you a very good feeling when you're wearing the headset. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on your ears, so it's very comfortable. In the bottom left area, you can adjust volume, you have a microphone mute button, and you can switch on and off the headset. You can also remove the microphone completely if you don't want to run around like a pilot in public. And if you want to use it in front of your gaming PC, for example, you can adjust it very easily into position. It also stays very firm in the position you adjusted it to. If you want to, you can also connect the headset over 3.5 connection. If you want to, you can alternatively also connect the headset over 3.5mm audio jack instead of using the 2.5 GHz connection. Alright, so talking about the headset, that's the component I actually enjoyed the most just from the style, but it also is the component which to me personally was the worst from a technical point of view. But let's just listen to some microphone examples I did for you when I recorded with different headsets. And this audio sample was recorded using the Elgato Wave 3, which is a standalone microphone for the desk. This audio sample is recorded using the Corsair Virtuoso SE, or however you're pronouncing this name of this headset. Yeah. For quick comparison, my favorite headset, Razer Kitty. By the way, I stole this from Miss Fox. You're now listening to a sample audio which I'm recording using the Razer Blackshark V2 Pro. Okay, so if we compare the Razer Microphone to especially the Corsair Virtuoso SE, which is the headset I'm personally using right now, but I also have to admit that's a sample I got for free from Corsair. And yeah, the Corsair headset sounds a lot more clear than the Razer headset. At the same time, if you want to listen to music, the Razer headset seems to have more depth in volume or in sound, and it also has a lot more bass than the Virtuoso. But it just depends what you're looking for. To me, the Corsair headset was more clear when you're listening to it, and it also had a much better microphone. So, like audio quality-wise, I would probably not use this one. So quick summary about the three products, starting off with the keyboard with the Blackwidow. Very happy with this keyboard, great quality when it comes to like the build quality, the feedback when you're like gaming and typing is great, 2.5 GHz technology. You cannot feel a difference if it's wired or not, or if it's like wireless. So if you're looking for a wireless keyboard with 2.4 GHz technology, that is definitely a great candidate. At the same time, this is probably the main argument why you would get this keyboard, because otherwise, if you don't want a wireless keyboard, it would be too expensive in my opinion. But if you're looking for a wireless keyboard, that's probably one of the best choices, and the alternatives with 2.4G are usually not much cheaper. The mouse was my favorite just because it feels perfect, fits perfect to my hand. The feeling while gaming was great. The headset was my least favorite product, especially because of the microphone quality. 99% of my personal preference when it comes to headsets is microphone quality. I just want to be sure that people can hear me clearly, especially because I often participate in meetings. We're often doing like community Discord stuff. Yeah, Nori will probably not agree, but you know that we're often trying to do them. And if we're doing those community actions, then I just want to be sure that you can hear me clearly, and that's definitely not the case with the Razer headset. I'm not that happy with the microphone quality. All right, keyboard great, mouse great, headset not so much. Thanks for tuning in, see you soon, bye bye.